Hi everyone, welcome to The Witch's Book, Dark Tales. If you enjoy this video, like and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and we see you on the other side.
Christmas is supposed to be a time of joy and celebration. But for some people, the holiday season brought terrifying encounters with the unexplainable. These are 5 true horror stories that happened during Christmas. Story 1. The Gift That Came Back. My name is Sarah, and this happened on Christmas 2019. My grandmother had passed away in October of that year, just 2 months earlier. She always loved Christmas, and every year she would give me a special ornament for the tree. That year, I found a box of gifts she had bought before she died. Inside was a porcelain angel with my name engraved on the base. I cried when I saw it. It was the last gift she would ever give me. On Christmas Eve, I placed the angel at the top of our tree. I went to bed around midnight, but woke up at 3 a.m. to the sound of something falling. I went downstairs and found the porcelain angel on the floor, completely intact. This was impossible. It was hanging with a reinforced hook, and falling from 3 meters high should have shattered it. I put it back on the tree, double-checking that it was secure. I went back to bed, but something bothered me. When I passed by the living room window, I saw something that made my blood run cold. Outside, in the fresh snow that had fallen during the night, there were footprints. But these weren't normal footprints leading from the street to my door. The footprints started out of nowhere in the middle of my yard, as if someone had appeared there, walked to my window, and then simply stopped. There were no footprints leaving. The person had literally vanished there. I went to the window and looked outside, my heart pounding. That's when I noticed something that made me shiver. The footprints in the snow were small and delicate, exactly the size my grandmother wore. And next to one of them, there was the mark of a cane, the same one she used in the last months of her life. To this day, I can't explain it. But that Christmas morning, when I woke up, the angel had fallen again. And this time, I found a small note beside it, in my grandmother's unmistakable handwriting. I will always be close to you, my love. Story 2. The Child at the Window. This story was shared by Marcus from Vermont. In December 2017, he was spending Christmas alone for the first time in his life. His family had moved to another state, and he stayed behind because of work. On the night of December 23rd, around 10 p.m., Marcus was watching TV when he felt someone watching him. He lives in a single-story house and had the living room curtains partially open. When he looked at the window, he saw the face of a child pressed against the glass, looking directly at him. What made this especially disturbing is that Marcus lives on the 2nd floor of a building. There's no balcony or fire escape outside that window, just a 6-meter drop to the ground. Marcus was paralyzed for a few seconds. The child didn't blink, just stared at him with completely black eyes. He finally found the courage to get up and go to the window. As he got closer, the child smiled, revealing teeth that seemed too sharp, and then simply vanished. It didn't fall, didn't move, just faded like smoke. Marcus opened the window trembling and looked down. There was nothing there. No ladder, no equipment, nothing that would explain how a child could be floating outside his 2nd floor window. He couldn't sleep that night. He kept all the curtains closed and the lights on. But at 3:15 a.m., he heard something that made him break into a cold sweat. The sound of small fingers tapping gently on the glass of his bedroom window. Tap, tap. And then a distorted child's voice whispered, "Let me in." "It's cold out here." Marcus covered his head with the blanket and didn't move until dawn. When he finally had the courage to look at the window, he found small handprints on the fogged glass from the outside. Hands too small to be from a normal child. He moved out 2 months later. Story 3. The hospital Santa Jennifer worked as a nurse on a night shift at a hospital in Oregon. This story happened on Christmas night 2015. The hospital was quiet. Most patients were sleeping, and only essential staff was on duty. Around 2 a.m., Jennifer was making her rounds when she noticed a man dressed as Santa Claus in the hallway of the 4th floor, where the most critical patients were. This wasn't completely unusual. Volunteers sometimes wore costumes to cheer up patients, but in the middle of the night, and on Christmas, Jennifer found it strange. She approached the man to ask what he was doing there. He was tall, had a real white beard, and wore an elaborate Santa Claus costume. But something about him was wrong. His eyes were very light, almost translucent, and he didn't seem to be breathing. "Can I help you?" Jennifer asked, maintaining a professional tone. Santa turned to her slowly and smiled. "I'm just visiting the children," he said in a strangely soft voice. It's Christmas after all. The problem was there were no children on that floor. It was the palliative care unit for adults. Before Jennifer could respond, Santa walked to room 412 and entered. Jennifer followed him quickly. In the room was Mr. Patterson, a 78-year-old man in terminal stage cancer. He was conscious, but very weak. Santa sat beside the bed and held Mr. Patterson's hand. Jennifer stood at the door, not knowing what to do. The elderly man looked at the visitor, and his eyes filled with tears. "I knew you would come," Mr. Patterson whispered. "It's time, isn't it?" Santa just nodded gently. Jennifer felt a chill run down her spine. "I'm sorry, sir, but you can't be here," Jennifer finally said, entering the room. But when she took a few more steps, Santa simply wasn't there anymore. He vanished. Jennifer looked around confused. There was no way he could have left without passing by her. Mr. Patterson continued looking at the empty space beside his bed, smiling peacefully. "He said it's painless," he murmured. "Thank you for not interrupting him." Mr. Patterson passed away exactly 5 minutes later at 2:17 a.m. His expression was one of absolute peace. Jennifer reviewed the security cameras from the hallway. They showed Jennifer walking down the corridor, alone. There was no Santa. There never had been. She never told this story officially for fear they wouldn't believe her. But 3 years later, on the same Christmas night, at 2 a.m., Jennifer saw Santa again. And once more, a terminal patient died minutes later, in peace. Story 4. The Midnight Bell's Daniel lived in an old house in Connecticut that had belonged to his family for generations. In December 2018, he decided to spend Christmas there alone to finish writing his doctoral thesis. The house had a dark history. In 1952, during Christmas Eve, an entire family had died in a fire that started in the fireplace. Daniel knew this, but had never believed the stories that the house was haunted. On the night of December 24th, Daniel was working on his laptop in the living room when he heard bells ringing. It wasn't the sound of church bells in the distance, but rather the delicate tinkling of small bells, like the ones you would hang on a Christmas tree. He looked around. There were no bells in the room. The sound seemed to come from the walls, moving around the house in a circular pattern. Daniel stood up and tried to locate the origin of the sound. The bells guided him to the attic, a place he rarely visited. The stairs creaked under his feet as he climbed. The sound of the bells grew louder, more insistent. When he reached the attic, the bells stopped abruptly. The silence was deafening. Daniel turned on the light and looked around. Old boxes, furniture covered with sheets, old Christmas decorations. That's when he saw it, a small artificial Christmas tree set up in the corner, covered in dust. It was old, probably from the 1950s, and hanging from its branches were dozens of small silver bells. But none of them were moving. There was no wind, no drafts. The bells were completely still. Daniel felt the air grow heavy. The temperature dropped drastically. His breath formed clouds of vapor. And then he heard voices. Children's voices singing jingle bells, but distorted, as if coming from underwater. He turned to go down the stairs, but they were no longer there. Where the attic opening should be, there was now only a solid wall. Daniel was trapped. Panic began to take over him. He ran to the wall, touching it, pushing it. It was real, solid. He screamed for help, but knew there was no one for miles. The children's voices grew louder. The bells began to ring by themselves, violently, as if being shaken by invisible hands. Daniel covered his ears and crouched on the floor. "Please stop," he screamed. And then, as suddenly as it started, everything stopped. Total silence. Daniel slowly opened his eyes. The stairway opening was back. He ran down the stairs without looking back, grabbed his keys, and left the house. He spent Christmas at a hotel. When he returned 2 days later, he found something that made him sell the house immediately. In the attic, in the dust around the old tree, there were small children's footprints in a circle. Fresh footprints. The house was demolished in 2020. Daniel never spoke about that night again until now. Story 5. The Christmas message. This last story comes from Amanda, from Colorado. It's the most personal and perhaps the most disturbing. In 2016, Amanda's younger brother Jake died in a car accident on December 10th. He was only 19 years old. The family was devastated, and Christmas that year was canceled. No one had the spirit to celebrate. Amanda and Jake were very close. They always exchanged Christmas gifts a few days before the official date, a tradition they had kept since childhood. Jake always left his gifts for Amanda in unusual places as a form of scavenger hunt. On the morning of December 24th, Amanda woke up to her cell phone ringing. It was a text message. From Jake. Her heart stopped. She looked at the screen with trembling hands. The message said, "Last gift. Check the usual place. Love you, sis." Amanda felt her stomach turn. This was impossible. Jake had been dead for 2 weeks. His phone was in a box in her parents' closet, turned off. She showed the message to her parents. They were as shocked as she was. They checked Jake's phone. It was still off, no battery, exactly where they had left it. After much debate, Amanda decided to check the usual place, the old shed at the back of the property where Jake used to hide his gifts. With her parents by her side, she opened the shed door. Daylight illuminated the dusty interior. And there, on a small table in the center, was a box wrapped in red and gold gift paper. A card was attached. Amanda picked up the card with trembling hands. The handwriting was unmistakably Jake's. It said, "To my favorite sister, I know this year will be difficult, but I want you to know that I'm okay, and I will always be with you, especially at Christmas. Open when you're ready. With eternal love, Jake." She opened the gift. Inside was a necklace with a star-shaped pendant and a photo of the two of them as children on Christmas morning. On the back of the photo, in recent handwriting, it said, "I bought this in November, but I knew I needed to say goodbye properly. If you're reading this, it means my plan worked. Don't cry for me, celebrate, and Merry Christmas." Amanda's family fell silent. There was no logical explanation. Jake had died before he could deliver the gift. But somehow, he found a way to send one last message. Since then, every year on Christmas Eve, Amanda receives a text message from Jake's number. Always the same. "Merry Christmas, sis. Love you." The carrier technicians can't explain it. The number is deactivated. There's no way to send messages from it. But every year, without fail, the message arrives. Amanda says she's no longer afraid. It's Sesh Jake's way of keeping the tradition alive and reminding her that love doesn't end with death. These are just 5 of the countless paranormal stories that happen during Christmas. Maybe there is something special about this time of year that makes the veil between our world and the other thinner. Or maybe they're just unexplainable coincidences. What do you think? Have you ever had a supernatural experience during Christmas? Leave your story in the comments. And remember, this Christmas, when you hear bells ringing in the darkness, or see an unfamiliar face at the window, or receive an impossible message, maybe it's not just your imagination. Merry Christmas. and happy holidays.